Welcome back to another channel, and today we are hunting for the endangered New Zealand Dotterel, and there's only about 1,600 left here on the North Island of New Zealand. They breed on the eastern shore on the North Island, and quite cute little things. And see what we can capture with the Canon R5MKii with 2x teleconverter and 100 to 400 millimeter zoom lens, pushing it up to 800. So let's see what we can capture. Alright, here we have one of the images taken with the 100 to 400 millimeter zoom lens with a 2x teleconverter. And the first thing I usually do is do a basic crop. So we use a cropping tool that's situated here, and then we go to one of the corners, hold down shift to keep the proportions the same, and we crop to about there and move the image into position and hit the edit tool again. Next, what I'd like to do is the whites are blown out, so we want to tone down the highlights, bring the highlights right down. Next, I generally increase the vibrance between 20 and 30. I leave it at 23, and saturation I go very gently to about 5. Right, next, I just want to zoom in a bit. So it's Control Plus for shortcut. And what we're going to do is create a mask, and we're going to select the subject. And AI has done a pretty good job in selecting the subject, although you see it's selected the shadow as well. So what we do is we need to remove the shadow. So we subtract from this mask by using a brush, and we're going to just remove that over there and a bit over there, and likewise over there. Right, what I'd like to do with the subject, now that we've got the subject selected, I do increase the saturation ever so a bit more, and I even want to tone down the highlights a bit more as well on the subject. And then we'll turn down the whites a little bit as well. And we're going to increase the clarity bit as well and add an overall sharpness to the subject. Next, we'd like to add a mask for the background. So we select background, and AR's done quite a good job there, although it's left a bit underneath the bird, so we're going to add a bit there with the brush like we did previously and color in that a bit over there. Now that we've got the background selected, we want to keep the emphasis on the subject, so we're going to darken the background by reducing the whites and the highlights. And I would like to also reduce the clarity on the background and reduce the texture, just to keep that emphasis all on the subject matter. Pretty happy with that. Just going back to the basic section, so it's global settings. Again, we want to increase the temperature or check the temperature. And usually what I do is you can hold shift and double click on the temperature and see what it's done. It's pushed it up slightly, but I would like to actually push that temperature up ever so slightly more. What I'd like to do is add another mask to the forehead of the dotterel, as the whites are still slightly blown out. So we add another mask, and we're going to just use a radial gradient and draw in a small radial gradient here and make sure the feather is set to 100. And what we're going to do here is just reduce the highlights even more on this isolated area of the dotterel. As well as reducing the highlights, we can also reduce the whites. Last thing I'd like to do is add a vignette on the whole outside of the image. Going back to the global section here in the edit mode, we really like to put emphasis on those browns, oranges and yellows. So we're going to actually tone those up and deepen those reds on the breast of the dotterel. It really looks lovely. To about there, those golden red colors. And on the luminance as well, we can just make it a bit brighter or darker. Play around with these to see what you like. What I like to do is do a bit more of a crop in. So we hit the global editing tool, go back to the cropping tool, hold down shift and drag it a bit more in, and then move the subject back into position like that and hit the edit tool. And I'd say that is it. With raw files in Adobe Lightroom Classic, you can also denoise the image. Hit the denoise button. It takes a bit of time and it's well worth it. And it's just going to cancel out as much noise as possible in the image. Alright, denoising has been completed. Let's zoom in, Control plus. And it's neatened up, reduced the noise quite a bit. But one more last touch. I believe the image is still overexposed, so we're going back to the global settings, and I'd just like to tone down the exposure to about there. And that's it, folks. I trust you enjoyed this video and you found the tutorial useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you soon in the next video.